One of our claims to fame, maybe the only one, is we were the first American couple to be married in a New Zealand temple.
When I was 12 years old, my parents got a call from our church, from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, to go to Australia on a labor mission. We got on a ship, which was a big cruise ship then, which looks like a tugboat now compared to the cruise ships. But we went to Australia, and we were there for 8 months, and then they closed the building program down in Australia, so then we went to New Zealand. We were there for 6 years.
My sister and I were students, so I went to Church College to finish my senior year of high school. When we first got there, we lived up on a hill that looked down right on the New Zealand temple. Then we moved down where we looked up at the temple, so we were surrounded with it.
I grew up hearing stories about New Zealand and about my family that lived there. So I've always felt a very special connection to this temple that I've never even been close to.
My sister and I joined a Maorican group. It was called the Maoricans because we were all American.
We learned all the dances, and it was so fun, and we had a big group of American kids that were our age, and so that was fun.
I wanted to learn to carve Maori, and so that's what I did.
They had what they called the Kai Hall, and my friends and I, after we'd been to see a movie at the Kai Hall or whatever, we'd like to go up and walk around the temple. You know, and it was at night when the lights were on, and it was just such a peaceful feeling.
While I was in the Navy, they moved to New Zealand because we'd been dating and liked each other or knew there was something in the future. When I got out of the Navy, I hopped on another ship and off I went to New Zealand. Then when I got there, they didn't know what to do with me, so they called me on a mission. And so I actually worked in the metals and welding shop, which was quite an experience because I'd never welded before, but they taught me how to weld, and we would build all the window frames and the door frames and things like that for all of the chapels that were being built. And there were a couple of items that we actually built that went into the temple, even though the temple had been built before we got there, a year before we got there. And one of the fellows in the batch that I roomed with became one of my best friends, and he, in fact, was my best man when we got married.
Jimmy Roberts. Yeah. One of my bridesmaids was Maori, and she lived with the B Singers. He was in charge of the building at that time.
We got married there. The interesting thing there was that by the laws of New Zealand, you had to be married in a public place. So we could not be married in the temple right away. So we actually were married by the bishop in the visitor center. Then we walked across the street to the temple and were sealed.
I was really sad that we had to go and get married outside because I didn't ever want to do that. It was just, so I said, okay, now let's go really get married in the temple across the street.
So it was a great experience for us, and obviously one we'll never forget, being married in the New Zealand temple.
When Barbara and Roger got married, our bishop came and got me. He called me on the phone and he says, would you like to go up to the temple and have lunch in the cafeteria after they get married? I always thought that was nice that, he took me in, and so I got to be there.
We actually took our endowments out a week ahead so we could go every day to the temple because we knew we wouldn't be back, and so far we never got back.
I've always thought that would be fun to go back when it's open, but we'll have to see.
We really would have liked to have gone back for the rededication, but with COVID, so we don't even know when it's going to be.
I hope to one day be able to come full circle and go to the temple and be able to do ordinances there where my grandma and grandpa were sealed for eternity.
I think once you get involved with the Polynesian people, you live with them, and you spend time with them, you really learn to love the people. Something about the Polynesian people, the faith, they have this greater faith than we do. My father, people thought he was half Polynesian and half, because he acted that way, that he was that kind of a person, loving and kind. And so maybe he was really, I think I'm really Polynesian at heart.
growing up around the temple and having it so close. And when we lived up on the hill in Temple View, the temple was just right out our window. And so it was always in my view. The temple was always something that I knew I wanted to go there. I knew I wanted to be married there. And I think being that close really helped me to gain a testimony. We were married in the Manti Temple. That was the temple before the Provo Temple was done. We were both going to BYU. And actually, we went to the Manti Temple for our first date. We were able to work as ordinance workers in the Idaho Fall Temple for 7.5 years. And that was a wonderful experience.
The temple is a beautiful place. I love every single time I'm able to go, and it blesses your life so, so much. And I'm so excited for the people of New Zealand to have their temple back again.
Temples have meant a lot to us because we worked in the LA temple for 15 years.
To all the people waiting for the temple there, my heart is with you. I can't wait for you to be able to go and feel of God's love and feel of the peace that is in the house of the Lord.